This could be the biggest government cover-up ever. We're going to blow this whole case wide open.
Yeah, sure, the truth is out there, Moldy, but also lies. I mean, lies!
The trouble with you, Skelly, is that you just don't believe.
Shut up, Moldy. Give us a kiss.
What you're about to hear is probably the most impressive UFO sighting in the UK. Yes, there's Rendlesham Forest, Todmorden, but none quite so tempt credulity as this one. This is a story of the Little Rissington UFO, and this is a case for Skelly and Mulder.
Moldy, more like.
It's the height of the Cold War. On the 21st of October 1952, at RAF Little Rissington in Gloucestershire, Flight Lieutenant Michael Swiney climbed into a Gloucester Meteor for a routine training flight. He was joined by Royal Navy Lieutenant David Crofts. As they climbed through the clouds, at a height of 15,000 feet, they suddenly see 3 saucer-shaped objects with light emitting from the edges. Believing them to be parachutes, they climb to 30,000 feet. They're still there. They check that their oxygen's working. It's working fine. The objects move from one side of the aircraft to the other before vanishing.
But what if they were just secret Cold War aircraft? Super weapons, maybe?
That's certainly a possibility, but the pilots saw no jet condensation trail, no signs of conventional propulsion. This type of technology, a saucer-shaped aircraft which can glide through the clouds at high speed, simply did not exist in 1952.
Yeah, that we know of. And that's trusting it was an aircraft at all. What if it was a reflection, a trick of the light maybe, a weird cloud?
Okay, Swiney was an experienced flying instructor. It was his job to make sure that pilots flew safely. He had seen plenty of weird cloud formations and light reflections before, but he and Croft insisted that this was like nothing they'd seen before. This they couldn't explain.
I'm not seeing any actual evidence, just this uncorroborated testimony.
Well, this is where things get interesting, because these objects were verified independently by 2 different radar stations. So RAF Sopley, which is 100 miles south, and Air Traffic Control at Gloucester, about 25 miles east, both pick up these objects and track them. Now, this is the height of the Cold War, and these are unidentified flying objects, so 2 other meteors are scrambled to intercept them. But before they can make contact, they vanish. So, whilst a lot of UFO sightings are reliant on a handful, maybe, of individual testimonies, here we have actual concrete corroboration that these objects were real.
Okay, so they were objects. Doesn't mean aliens.
Okay, so this is where things get really interesting, because in 1974, Swiney wanted to go back to the archives to find his original incident report, and he's told that because UFO sightings have such mundane explanations, all files were routinely destroyed every 5 years. Now, this practice was stopped in 1967, so the earliest files available are from 1962, 10 years after the incident. But, not to be deterred, he does manage to actually get his hands on the original files, which proves that someone was lying about them being destroyed. Skip forward to 2002, and he's retired and he wants to have a final look at this UFO business. So he goes back to the archive, but this time the files are just gone. You can't find them. Lost. Again, he is told that files were routinely destroyed prior to 1967, despite him being able to access them 17 years after they were supposedly destroyed. The point is, the Ministry of Defence clearly thought that this incident was serious enough to warrant keeping the original files and lie about them being destroyed. The only documentary evidence left of this incident is his own logbook.
This doesn't prove a lot, Mouldy. I mean, civil servants not looking after their records, well, so what?
Look, if it was just top secret military aircraft that the pilots saw and the radar picked up 70 years ago, then why not just tell us? Everyone involved has passed away now. The technology is completely different. If they really thought that it had a rational explanation, they would say so. So, what are they keeping from us? What are they trying to hide? If you really want to understand this, you have to place it in its wider phenomenological context.
Phenomenological?
We have to view this as part of a wider series of UFO sightings in Britain after the Second World War. In June 1950, another meteor pilot sees a UFO at RAF Tangmere, which is also picked up by a radar station. This is called Britain's first flying saucer, and it leads to the Ministry of Defence setting up a flying saucer working party. This working party produced a report saying that all these sightings can be explained rationally and that there's no point carrying on investigating them. But then, in July 1952, there's a massive sighting of UFOs over Washington. Fighter jets are scrambled and an entire press conference is called to explain what happened. Winston Churchill even has to ask his air minister, "What does all this stuff about flying saucers amount to? What does it mean? What is the truth?" And he's basically told not to worry. But then, in the autumn of 1952, there's a series of sightings which cause the Ministry of Defence to re-evaluate its approach to UFOs. In September 1952, there's a Topcliffe incident in which RAF personnel see a round silver object following a meteor at a speed unlike anything seen before.
Yeah, which just happens to be in the middle of a massive NATO exercise. Main brace, right?
True, but Main Brace was a naval exercise and there are actually other sightings from some of the ships involved. Anyway, this incident causes the RAF to officially recognise UFOs. Subsequent sightings, some of them become mass media phenomena, others, like Little Rissington, manage to get covered up. The full story of this incident is kept secret until 2002, 50 years after it happened. And for that, we have to be thankful for the work of Dr. David Clarke. Swiney's final thoughts on the whole matter were this. I don't think there are little green men who are going to suddenly land and get out of peculiar-looking craft. But what I do know is that both David Crofts and I saw something, the like of which we had never seen before, and I have never seen since. I cannot explain it. The truth is out there, Skelly. I want to believe.